This market isn't loud right now, but it's saying a lot. And if you know how to read it, there's real clarity here. Before we get into the numbers, I want to be really clear about where this update is coming from. This is based on my review of the Calgary Real Estate Board's January stats, the CREB 2026 forecast report, the Bank of Canada's latest monetary policy report released in January, and what I'm seeing on the ground with real clients in real transactions right now. I also pay very close attention to what's happening globally because real estate doesn't live in a silo, and neither does your financial life. Now let's talk about what actually matters. We're starting 2026 in a very different place than the last few years. Not chaotic, not euphoric, unless you're Venezuelan, because January 3rd certainly was, and in the best of ways, but grounded. The markets like this tend to reward people who move before it becomes obvious to everyone else. This is a Calgary market update, but I know I have people watching from Toronto, from Vancouver, and other parts of Canada. So I'll explain why Alberta feels different right now and why that matters, starting with the data. In January, Calgary saw just over 1,200 sales, close to 2,800 new listings, and inventory sitting just under 4,400 homes. That puts us around 3.5 months of overall supply. And I want to pause on that number for a second. That's the entire market combined: apartments, townhouses, and detached homes. Because when you break it down by product type, the story changes really fast. Detached homes are still closer to 2.5 to 3 months of supply. Apartments are closer to 5 months, and townhouses sit somewhere in between those two. That's why the market feels contradictory. People say the market is slowing, but what they really mean is some segments are adjusting while others remain resilient. And I saw this firsthand last month. In January alone, I had the pleasure of completing 3 deals, and I was involved in multiple offers for 2 of them. One as the listing agent and one representing buyers. Buyers are coming back, not frantically, but with intention. Inventory has risen, yes. Things have been brought back that were taken off at Christmas, but the right inventory is still hard to find. Well-located, detached homes, quality duplexes, homes that make sense for real life. That search continues for many buyers because what they actually want isn't being built in meaningful volume. And that brings us to one of the biggest friction points in Calgary and frankly, all of Canada, the missing middle. You've heard me talk about this time and time again. Think of the housing market like a ladder. People are trying to move up or down, but some of the steps in between are completely missing. Move-up buyers struggle to sell their starter home because the next wave of buyers can't qualify or are being extremely selective. And the reality check, no matter the price point, perfection doesn't exist. Some of them want more updates that older homes don't have. Downsizers want to move, but not into tiny units with endless stairs. They want larger townhouses, duplexes, or fourplex style homes with functional main floors, double attached garages, room to host family, and space to keep the furniture they've worked so hard to maintain. The problem is, in many suburban communities, that product simply doesn't exist unless you go inner city or to the far edges of the city. And most downsizers want to stay in the communities they've lived in and are accustomed to. So people get stuck on the ladder, not because they don't want to move, but because the next step isn't there. And that's why I feel that Canada as a whole is incentivizing the wrong kind of build, and why certain product types continue to outperform even in a more balanced market. If this is the type of content you've been looking for, please show your support and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's zoom out because I know a lot of you are watching in Calgary, but I also know I have viewers in Toronto and viewers in Vancouver. And this is why Alberta feels different. Calgary still has population growth, still has job creation, still has improving business confidence. Statistics Canada is now projecting Alberta's population to grow between 1.4 and 3.1 million between the next 25 years, with Alberta on track to surpass British Columbia as the third largest province, potentially as early as 2038. That matters for housing demand, especially long-term. Now let's talk about rates. The Bank of Canada held its policy rate at 2.25%. And if you read the monetary policy report closely, the message is clear. Inflation is close enough to target. The economy is holding up better than expected, and monetary policy has limits when challenges are structural, not cyclical. Translated, rates aren't about to dramatically drop. They're also not high forever. They've already come down significantly compared to the last 2 years. And when you zoom out over 40 years, today's rates are actually quite reasonable. We're in a good place. However, and this matters, some banks are now forecasting potential rate increases in Q3 and Q4 of 2026. And if rates rise even modestly, the psychology of the market can change quickly, and so does what you qualify for, what your payments look like, how competitive buyers become. If your numbers are tight, that's a real risk. This is also happening against a complex global backdrop. Mark Carney recently went to Davos and made moves around trade with China. And almost immediately, we saw strong reactions from the US, including renewed tariff rhetoric from President Trump. I'm not here to be partisan, but it would be irresponsible not to say this. Canada is navigating a very delicate geopolitical moment. Trade diversification sounds good in theory, of course, but it also introduces risk, especially when the US is heading into a mandatory USMCA review this year. The agreement doesn't just disappear if there's disagreement. It lasts another 10 years regardless. But uncertainty alone can impact investment, confidence, and capital flows, and that matters for Alberta. It's also why people like Ray Dalio have been very vocal about the world moving into a more fragmented, multipolar economic phase, with higher volatility, shifting alliances, and more pressure on countries to be competitive, productive, and decisive. Canada is not immune to that. Calgary, however, is positioning itself through energy, technology, AI, data centers like what we're seeing in Olds, Alberta, and continued population growth in a way that many other Canadian cities are not. Now let's talk about sellers, because timing matters. We're in February. Historically, Calgary's prime selling season for detached homes is spring. Families want to buy in time to be settled before the school year starts. That means closings in and around summer. Realistically, the strongest window runs from now through the end of July, and waiting too long risks missing that window altogether, something I really don't want for you. Selling well in this market is not about speed, it's about excellence. The work we both have time to put in directly impacts the result that you get. Yes, I can get a listing up in record time, but for detached homes or larger properties in general, or maybe a home that you've been living in for over 20 years, preparation is everything. That's why I bring a staging consultant with me. I have a stager on the day of. We leave the decor for an extended period of time while the home is listed, and we have a full marketing team ensuring consistent exposure, not just a launch and silence. This market rewards homes that feel easy to say yes to. Before I wrap this up, I want to share something I'm really excited about. I've launched a free Calgary Leadership Club and Mastermind. It's for people in leadership roles or aspiring in that direction, entrepreneurs, business owners, executives, people who care about personal development, building wealth, clarity, and well-designed intentional lives. This month's book is Essentialism. And if you've ever felt stretched too thin, this one hits hard in the best way. If you want in, comment book club below. We meet virtually every last Wednesday of the month. So here's the bottom line. If you're a buyer, you still have leverage, but it won't wait forever, and your window is actually closing in, especially if rates rise later this year. If you're a seller, preparation, pricing, and positioning matter more than ever, and your prime selling months are coming up fast. Don't miss them. And if you're watching Calgary from elsewhere in Canada, this city continues to quietly stand out, not because it's loud, but because it's resilient. If you want to talk through your situation, buying, selling, upsizing, downsizing, or planning, please reach out. I'm always happy to walk through it with you. And if this brought you clarity, share it with someone who needs less noise and more perspective. I hope to catch you at book club. Stay tuned for the next one.